ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula says the NEC will consider the option to dissolve KZN and Gauteng structures. The NEC is convening a meeting to decide the future of both provinces' executives after their poor performance in the May 2024 elections. The two provinces were the party's biggest losers at the polls, with Gauteng dropping from more than 50% to 36% of the vote, while KZN declined from 54.2% in 2019 to 17%.
Nobody is dissolved, as it was the key buzzword, and the dissolution is just but one of the options that will be considered. And we did explain to you that we were simply doing an overview of what has been considered, but in relation to what really obtains in these provinces in our analysis, meaning a perspective of what happened, will be shared with you after the discussions and the resolve of the National Executive Committee. So today we are here, and we will give the report of the NWC and the options to the NEC to debate and take a decision.
ANC spokesperson Mahleng Muziri adds that there is a need to look at the organization as a whole and not just the KZN and Gauteng structures.
This is not just a focus on Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. The plan of the National Executive Committee is to go into each of the provinces in a more detailed manner than we've done in the past. So it's important to clarify that there are a number of weaknesses with some of our provinces that can be overcome, some of which are a product of our own weaknesses, some of which are a product of developments in the country and in the world, and how we need to position the ANC, including on the ground, to be able to do that.
Newzroom Afrika's Juniour Khumalo has been tracking this story and joins us in studio to tell us more. Very good evening to you, Junior. You've had a full busy day today. We've heard the ANC there saying all options are going to be explored, but also they said there are three key options. Break those three options down for us, please.
Indeed, Masa. So there are three options that the ANC has put on the table. The first one is to leave the status quo as is in these two provinces. So basically leave the Provincial Executive Committees and allow them to try and figure out what to do as they go into the local government elections. The second option is to reinforce them by bringing in veterans or other ANC leaders to these provinces to try and strengthen the leadership quality in these two provinces. The last one is to totally disband these two provinces and bring in new leadership. We know that both provinces, the PECs, were actually elected in 2022. So if they do disband them, then the parties, the provinces will have to go to an elective conference where a new leadership is going to be elected. But for now, there will be a convener as well as a coordinator will then be put in place to run the affairs of the province.
From your sense, Junior, you know, speaking to the ANC throughout the weeks as well, this has been a problem long time coming since the general elections in May. Do you get a sense that they are swaying toward the side of dissolving or disbanding some of these structures, the two structures at hand here? Or there is more of a let's reinforce kind of attitude going on here? We do know that the deputy president of the ANC, Paul Mashadile, he's against this disbandment option of it. So is the deputy SG Nomvula Mokonyane. They've been vocal about that. But there are those in the party who are saying, look, it is a viable option. From your sense, where is the pendulum swaying? Where are they swaying?
Even the president of the party is also against the disbanding of these two provinces, it appears, just from the talks that we're having with some of these NEC members today. But it seems like they are very divided when it comes to this, whether they disband or they reinforce. Individuals such as your secretary of the party, Fikile Mbalula, who is basically the engine room of the party at this point, seemingly wants these provinces to be disbanded. Some people are saying that he wants this for his own personal interests because he wants to be the next president of the party, and an individual such as Banyaza Lesufi stands in his way, basically. So this is part of the reason why some people suggest Mbalula would want the province to be disbanded. But from what is going to happen today, I think we will get a clearer picture tomorrow, because today that's where most of the NEC members are going going to voice their opinions on whether to disband or not. But the likelihood also, given that there are parties such as Umkhonto weSizwe who are most probably waiting in the sidelines for any of the disgruntled individuals that might leave the party after any disbandment, the party is very cautious about taking this route. So a lot of them have been suggesting that it is better to bring in some veterans of the ANC to try and strengthen the ANC in these two provinces.
Over the years, we've seen some veterans of the ANC speak quite critically about the ANC as well. Do they have a strong pipeline of veterans who are willing and able to put their hands up and say, I'm willing to leave my home, my family and my social life? And as veterans, you're at the later years of your life as well, right? The enjoyment of the later years. Do they have a pool of veterans who are willing and able to go to these affected provinces?
It is going to be a challenge to convince a veteran of the ANC to go into the province and basically take up the work, because we've heard the president of the party saying that the branches in some of these provinces, especially KwaZulu-Natal, they're non-existent, basically. This is why they failed. So it is going to take someone who is willing to be on the ground consistently trying to rebuild the ANC. But the ANC does have a lot of veterans from that province who are still within the NEC of the party. The likes of Mike Mabuya Kulu, the likes of Dlamini Zuma, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma as well, and recent leaders of the province that are still within the party that might be taken by the party or convinced by the party to go there. The party also has its Veterans League, so they could also ask the Veterans League to deploy some of its members to that province to try and stabilize the situation there. Because for now, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, the province is really in trouble going into the local government elections in 2026.
And speaking of provinces as well, you know, the government of national unity also gave birth to the government of provincial unity in also Gauteng and KZN. What implications would this have for those GPUs, for Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, should the ANC, that is part of those two provincial governments, disband their structures?
The challenge would be if the disbanded members who also form part of the executive in those two legislatures decide to then leave the party, then they might have to step down also in their roles in those two legislatures, which then poses a problem, especially in KwaZulu-Natal. We know that the MK party has about 45% of the support there. So if the ANC then loses some of the individuals, they jump ship and then they join Umkhonto weSizwe party, then that opens the door for Umkhonto weSizwe party to take over that province. Because currently that coalition hangs by a balance in KwaZulu-Natal. In Gauteng, it looks highly unlikely. If they do disband the leadership in Gauteng, then they are likely to take some of the leaders, such as your Panyazele Sufi, your secretary, TK Nziza, and then make them either a coordinator or a convener in the province, just to appease them so that they also don't leave and join another party, to try and keep that stability in the party as well as in the provincial government as well.
And as you say, there will be a delicate balance as well to also appease the internal leaders that they already have while trying to make these changes as well, and also trying to attract more votes again. You asked a very interesting question when there was that mini briefing outside today to say there is this focus about these two provinces, but also the talk around the Western Cape seemed slightly defeatist. What was the response to your question about the Western Cape as well? Because that is a province where the ANC has perpetually been performing poorly and hasn't been able to get back or to get into power properly there.
Indeed, some might say the Western Cape is basically the province that started it all for the ANC. The party lost its majority in the Western Cape in 1999. So the ANC has only been able to win the Western Cape in 1994. Since then, it's been governing in the Western Cape through coalitions until 2009, when the DA then took over, and the ANC has never regained that province. When we did pose that question to the secretary of the ANC, he said that we have not thrown in the towel as when it comes to the Western Cape. This is part of the reason why the ANC then took its January 8 celebrations to that province. It's trying to rebuild the structures there. It's trying to rebuild the leadership as well. There were a lot of infighting when it comes to the Western Cape. So he seems to suggest that we are still focusing also on the Western Cape. There are other provinces as well, such as your Northern Cape, that also did not perform well during last year's elections. So the ANC NEC says it will also be going into those provinces and trying to see what they can stabilize when they go to the local government elections in 2026.
It's interesting, Junior, because I don't recall the ANC taking this kind of action that they're going to be taking with the KZN and the Gauteng structures as they did with the Western Cape when they initially lost it and continued to decline support over there. So it does seem as if they've kind of let it go and understood that they're going to play a perpetual opposition role. Is there fear, are you getting a sense that Gauteng and KZN, they cannot let that happen as they let it happen with the Western Cape?
Those were Mbalula's exact words today. He said that we cannot let the situation that happened in the Western Cape repeat itself in Gauteng and in KwaZulu-Natal. The Western Cape, as you've rightfully put it, there was no agency after the party lost the support, because in 1999 they managed to continue governing through a coalition until 2009. So there was never any effort by the party to go there, disband the provincial leadership there and try and reinforce. Instead, they continued in that manner until they lost support. Even after they lost support, there was this continued infighting. Maybe the party was comfortable because it was leading in the other 8 provinces, so they did not see the need to put in the effort that they are currently putting now. But now it's an existential crisis for the ANC. They realize that if you lose Gauteng, if you lose KZN, then you are likely to lose the entire country. So there will be no ANC, even when they go to their elective conference, internal elective conference in 2027. There won't be anything to fight for because they would have lost power. So part of the reason why also the ANC is a bit tentative in its approach to disbanding these 2 provinces is exactly because of that. They know that KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng bring in the most number of voting delegates when it comes to that national elective conference. In 2022, Gauteng brought about 507 voting delegates, the 4th biggest number. In that same year, KZN brought 800, over 800, the biggest number of voting delegates. So if you aggrieve all of these delegates from KwaZulu-Natal, so as a Mbalula, as a Mashatile, as a Nomvula, if you then want to pursue that position of being a president or a deputy president, you've lost that support. So that's why they're a bit tentative in how they're approaching the situation.
Delicate one indeed. They do want to focus also on the party holistically, and you cannot also ignore the MK phenomena. Do they have a plan to deal with this? That seems to be the beast that is MK right now. You know,
in December, Mbalula said that it's like fighting a battle, he said using a conquest against a jet. Comparing the two, the ANC and the MK party in KwaZulu-Natal. So he was basically trying to showcase how difficult the situation is going to be, because at the moment they are still in that position of trying to rebuild the structures. So they don't have a strategy yet on how to counter this momentum that Umkhonto we Sizwe party is gaining. I think at the moment the leadership of the ANC is banking on the Umkhonto we Sizwe party to implode, given the current chopping and changing that is happening. Just yesterday we heard that the treasurer of Umkhonto we Sizwe party is the most recent individual to resign. The party will be quick to say that he still remains within the party. He is not leaving the Umkhonto we Sizwe party. So that seems like the strategy within the ANC right now. Wait and see what happens to Umkhonto we Sizwe party while we try and rebuild the structures of the party.
And I guess we'll also have to wait and see until tomorrow what the NEC decides about these 2 provinces. Junior, thank you so much for joining us this evening in studio. That's Juniour Khumalo just giving us the lowdown about what's going on when it comes to the ANC's NEC meeting, discussing those 2 provinces, Gauteng and KZN. Will those structures be disbanded? We don't know. We will find out probably by the end of tomorrow.